Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Job, the 29th chapter. As you see, it says Job's past was glorious. Here he reflects on his past when things were good for him, right? And that's what 29 pretty much is about, right? How he was good. Like, it expounds a bit more on what we read of in the first chapter about how he was perfect and lacking nothing, right? Great in the east, eschewed evil. These are some of the things that he did. It says, moreover, Job continued his parable and said, "Oh, that I were as in months past. So if only I was like how I was before. Things were the way they were before all of this hell. As in the days when God preserved me, when his candle shined upon my head, and when his light walked through darkness." Right? So when he lit up your path, when he guided you. As I was in the days of my youth, when the secret of God was upon my tabernacle. And that word secret goes into counsel. Okay, so it's saying here he's saying here when the counsel of God, right, was upon his tabernacle, upon his habitation, where everything was going good for him. When the Almighty was yet with me, when my children were about me. See, so when the Lord was giving him those blessings, when he felt like the Lord was near and dear to him, when his children were still alive with him, when I washed my steps with butter, and the rock poured me out rivers of oil. And in the NLT says here, that's just another way of saying that he had an abundance of it, right? So NLT says, my cows produced milk in abundance, and my groves poured out streams of olive oil. When I went out to the gate through the city, when I prepared my seat in the street, right? So because in that area, that's like taking a seat amongst those that are reverenced, like the elders, right? The young men saw me and hid themselves, meaning they gave way, right? And they saw him. And the aged rose and stood up out of respect. The princes refrained talking and laid their hand on their mouth. So when Job was around, everybody just hushed up to hear what he would say. The nobles held their peace, and their tongue cleaved to the roof of their mouth. When the ear heard me, then it blessed me. And when the eye saw me, it gave witness to me. So all those that heard him, they blessed him, right? For his wisdom, for his godliness, for all of those. And as it says, when I saw me, it gave witness to me. NLT says, all who heard me praised me. All who saw me spoke well of me. Because I delivered the poor that cried, and the fatherless, and him that had none to help him. The blessing of him that was ready to perish came upon me, and I caused the widow's heart to sing for joy. So him that was ready to perish, by Job coming to his aid and delivering him, he blessed him, right? The blessing of him that was ready to perish came upon me. And I caused the widow's heart to sing for joy. I put on righteousness, and it clothed me. My judgment was as a robe and a diadem, right? So he lived a godly life. He lived a righteous life. He was so enveloped in righteousness. He likened it onto clothing that he wore, and his judgment or his justice onto like another article of clothing, a robe, and a head wrap or a headpiece. I was eyes to the blind, and feet was I to the lame, which is another way of saying he was, he gave to those that were lacking, right? So like being eyes to the blind is like providing what whoever it is was lacking, right? If the blind didn't have eyes, whatever they needed, he would provide for them. I was a father to the poor, and the cause which I knew not, I searched out. And when you go into that, as it says in the NLT, I was a father to the poor and assisted strangers who needed help. I break the jaws of the wicked and plucked the spoil out of his teeth. which is he put an end to the means by which the wicked would oppress, right? That's like breaking their jaws if they were animals, because that's what they would use to attack. And then as it says, plucked the spoil from out of his teeth. So whatever it is that they had taken, he would return, okay, and basically make it right. Then I said, I shall die in my nest, and I shall multiply my days as the sand. So he was living good, right? I thought, NLT, surely I will die surrounded by my family after a long, good life. My root was spread out by the waters, and the dew lay all night upon my branch. This is he's speaking on his prosperity, but likening himself to like a tree whose roots, right, are constantly nourished by water and the dew falling upon the branches. My glory was fresh in me, and my bowl was renewed in my hand. So it says here, new honors are constantly bestowed on me, and my strength is continually renewed. Unto me men gave ear, and waited, and kept silence at my counsel. So people would listen and be quiet to hear what he would say. After my words they spake not again, and my speech dropped on them. So after he would speak, nobody would add on, because whatever he would say would be sufficient. And they waited for me as for the rain, and they opened their mouth wide as for the latter rain. It says here, they longed for me to speak, NLT, as people long for rain. They drank my words like a refreshing spring rain. If I laughed on them, they believed it not. And the light of my countenance they cast not down. In the NIV, it says, when I smiled at them, they scarcely believed it. The light of my face was precious to them. So they held him in very, very, very high regard. I chose out their way and sat chief, right? So he instructed them on what to do. He was like a chief and and dwelt as a king in the army, as one that comforteth the mourners. So this was Job's life before it all went south. Okay. And in the next chapter, he compares that to this as to how it went from this to everybody going against him. And that brings us to the end of the book of Job, the 29th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.